So I haven't created a video in a while, and to be honest, I've been struggling to think of new content. I don't want to keep churning out the same videos from the same venues, the same training venues. I think the sport as a whole can get quite repetitive as it is. So I thought this was a cool idea. I've been in chats with London Youth Rowing, and this video is in association with them, and it's in preparation for the National Junior Indoor Rowing Championships, which is taking part on the 9th of March. And it's going to be a short video with the help of the rest of the heavyweight men to give you an insight into our fondest memories of competing at indoor events, maybe some tips and tricks on how to make your day run a bit more smoothly, and hopefully you can take something away from this video. I want it to be informative, I want it to be fun, and I hope you like it.
Favourite memory would probably be watching James Cracknell and Matthew Pinson have a kind of a row off. They both did, I think, 5:48. It was an amazing race. I didn't know either of them. I didn't know who they were, but it was inspiring to see two legends of the sport go at it, sort of stroke for stroke. And I think it must have ignited something in me. Well, it definitely did, because then there I was 13 years later. But yeah, it was amazing to watch. It's a great event. Enjoy it, and do your best, but mainly enjoy it.
So my favourite moment on the indoor rowing machine would have to be probably back in 2008. So I was a J18 and I was at the British Junior Indoor Rowing Championships when they were staged in Birmingham, and I was lined up against your esteemed vlogger Matt Tarrant and now Olympic champion George Nash. And back in those days, somehow I managed to pip them. So that's probably up there with one of my best moments on the indoor rowing machine.
My top tip would be just stay relaxed. I think when I was a lot younger, I would get really nervous, really worked up about 2Ks, and especially at the indoors, quite a lot of pressure, there's a lot of eyes on you. But I think it's probably better just to stay relaxed, formulate a plan, and stick to that plan. There comes a time in like the 2K when it's going to get tough, and if you've got a plan and you can stick to it and execute that well, then it's going to go better. So I'd say for me, stay relaxed, have a plan, and try and execute it.
I actually really enjoyed a clip of watching Pinson race against Cracknell. They both completely ended themselves for the competition. I enjoyed that, although I wasn't actually competing. I think that's the first thing that springs to mind about indoors, is that, you know, competitive element and pushing yourself as hard as you can. So yeah, even though that's quite daunting, I guess my top tip is to enjoy it, go out hard and hang on.
My top tip for you guys competing at the National Junior Indoor Rowing Championships would be that inevitably at some point during your race it's going to start to hurt a bit, but I would say try to think of times when it's not gone so well and you've kind of lost a race or something you've really found annoying afterwards, and actually you can use that as motivation. So if something hasn't gone your way, use that when it starts to hurt to think, you know, really push on and not let the score you want to get slip away from you. Probably another tip would be that just try and breathe during the piece. Often you can get really overwhelmed, but just keep thinking about breathing, and yeah, don't let the sort of big occasion affect you too much.
My first Erg Champs memory is racing when I was 15 years old. And Mo Speedy beat me by 38 seconds, and I don't think I'm actually any closer now than I was then. My top tip for getting through an erg test is knowing that the pain you feel when it's getting really hard is only temporary and it's going to end soon, so you might as well just get stuck into it rather than shying away from it, because that's when you'll get the best score. Just dive head first into it and hope for the best, and you might surprise yourself with what you're capable of.
When I was junior, I was pretty rubbish on the rowing machine, but I enjoyed myself by hanging out with my mates and trying to improve and beat my own scores. So my piece of advice would be to not compare yourself to other people, but just to enjoy improving in your training and enjoy hanging out with your friends.
one thing I have done and one thing I enjoyed was the indoor relay I did a couple of years ago with yourself, Matt, Mo Sabihi and Pete Lambert. We won it, but we did still have a few mishaps early on. We had some terrible changeovers. I think I was very much a part of one of them. So make sure, my tip would be to, if you're doing the relays, get those changeovers down, get them slick so you don't have any concern about where you should be going, what you should be holding, so that you can focus on your 10 strokes or 15 strokes, whichever you've planned to do.
So my top tip I actually stole from an interview I did with Matt Pinson last year, and it's all to do with how do you cope in that third 500 metres of your 2K. Now in a 2K you're always going to feel the lactate about 750 metres into the piece, and at 1,000 metres it's really going to hurt. Now how do you get from 1,000 metres into that last 500 without losing your average split? Firstly, you tell that little guy in your head that's always telling you to back off when it hurts to be quiet. Because it's not going to get better if you back off. It's going to hurt just as much, and you'll be disappointed with yourself at the end because you didn't achieve what you set out to achieve. Now, in that third 500, it's very simple. When it starts to hurt, break it down into 10 stroke pieces. First 10 strokes, split. Am I still holding the speed that I want to hold to achieve my target goal? Next 10 strokes, am I still on rate? Look at the rate, keep it moving. Am I still on the rate? Good, yes I am. Next 10 strokes, am I rowing long? Very simple. You're holding the split, you're holding the rate, and now you're holding the length and the rhythm. Once you've done that, that's 30 strokes in the bag. That third 500 is almost over. You've probably got another 10, 15 strokes after that, and then you're in the last 500, and there's a very good chance that you're going to sprint for the line. And if you've coped well in that third 500, you're going to be so much closer to that PB than if you'd listened to that guy in your head that told you to back off.
I'll start again.
I'll start again. God, I hate this shit. Take two, start again. Oh no.
That's when you feel like you're an ambassador.
Your race, it's going to start to hurt. But in that situation,
don't do that.
Hello.
You started already?
Yeah.
I never see you press the button. That's why.